This is The Conscious Nurse with Celestine Toles Keys. Today we'll take a mini deep dive into the concept of racism and religion, which were created from fear for power, control, and wealth. Now let's keep in mind that the space inside this circle represents my realm of knowledge. All that I think I know about whatever I think I know is depicted right here within this circle. I must keep in mind that there is more to know than what is within the circumference of my awareness. And this is the case for you as well. Now let's talk about cognitive dissonance. This is why people get upset when their beliefs are challenged. You see, cognitive dissonance is a mental conflict that occurs when beliefs are contradicted by new information. This conflict activates areas of the brain involved in personal identity and emotional response to threats. The brain's alarms go off when a person feels threatened on a deeply personal and emotional level, causing them to shut down and disregard any rational evidence that contradicts what they personally have regarded as truth. Now, I stumbled upon a video today that talks about the lie that invented racism, a TED Talk by John Biewen. Now, John mentions that a man by the name of Gomez Inez de Azurara compiled accounts of the early slave trade. His description of the division of captives in 1450 demonstrates the prejudices of the Europeans and the horror of the slave trade in pursuit of profit. A Portuguese chronicler, he was paid to write a book in which he described Africans as less than. So this was all about money. Look it up for yourself. So I go on further to discover that the church became dominant in Europe following the fall of the Roman Empire. The only religion recognized in the Middle Ages Europe was Christianity, and specifically Catholicism. In the 1500s, religion was one of the most important features of life in the early modern Europe. The Christian faith was predominant, although there were also Jews and Muslims living in Europe in the 1500s. The Catholic Church held enormous power during that time. And not only were they powerful, they were also influential. Roman Catholicism was the state religion of France, beginning with the conversion of King Clovis until the French Revolution, when the church's relationship with the state was radically redefined. So what did people believe in the 1400s? The medieval people in Europe were Christian. They considered life as an earthly passage, with death the gate which led to heaven. So for them, real life started in heaven. Poor things. So I asked, were the 1400s the Dark Ages? According to this information, the Dark Ages in Europe occurred between 500 CE and 1000 CE, or 500 to 1500 AD. The term Dark Ages was coined by the scholar Petrarch. So this Renaissance period began after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Christianity underwent significant transformations from 1450 to 1750, including the Reformation leading to the Protestant movement, while maintaining continuity in the church's structure. The Black Death and the Age of Exploration also influenced the development and spread of Christianity during this time. The medieval era, often called the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, began around 476 AD, following a great loss of power throughout Europe by the Roman Emperor. The Middle Ages spanned roughly 1,000 years, ending between 1400 and 1450. I hope y'all following me on this, because it's going to really make sense to you. So as I continue my deep dive, I discovered that during the Neolithic time, the religions revolved around nature and the harvest, fertility, and those elements upon which life was sustained. Neolithic people started worshiping the sun, moon, and other parts of nature. Imagine that. To which they attributed their survival, to which they also attributed their culture and belief systems. And so the Neolithic period lasted from around 4300 BC down to 2000 BC. That's about 6,000 years before the present time. And by the way, Neolithic means new stone. And so this period was sometimes called the New Stone Age. Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. So what was the religion in the Neolithic age? People of the Neolithic age were animists. You see, they believed that all the elements of the natural world, like animals, forests, mountains, rivers, and stones, had self-consciousness. Because even the rocks could cry out. And what era existed before the Neolithic age? You guessed it, Paleolithic. Their religion revolved around the natural world and took the form of animism, the belief that many different spirits affect the natural world. In such a system, animalism might have arisen where animals are given supernatural connections. So then I had to go on and ask, was animism the first religion? The results indicate that the oldest trait of religion present in the most recent common ancestor of present-day hunter-gatherers was animism. In agreement with long-standing beliefs about the fundamental role of this trait, belief in an afterlife emerged, followed by shamanism and ancestor worship. So let's just take a quick look at the world's largest religions. Which one do you think is first? Of course, it's Christianity. But let's take a deeper dive into animism. Attribution of living souls to inanimate objects, 1866, reintroduced by English anthropologist Sir Edward Bernard Taylor, who defined it as the theory of universal animation of nature, from Latin anima, which is, get this y'all, life, breath, soul. So what was the African religion in the 1500s? The Congo state, followed by the Ndongo kingdom, would establish an African form of Christianity as its official religion. You may have known it as the Orisha religion. Nevertheless, by far and away dominated the numerous states of West Africa. Now, the majority of Africans, sub-Saharans in particular, prior to the European colonization, practiced indigenous religions which were largely, check this out, animistic. Now, anima mundi is a spiritual essence distinct from matter and supposed in the philosophy of Pythagoras and Plato to be diffused throughout the universe, organizing and acting through the whole of it. 1670s, the medieval Latin, meaning literally soul of the world. And if you know anything about the word soul, you know that it's in reference to what? Our beautiful, glorious sun. Not to be confused with the Son of God that you call Jesus in the Christian faith, but the actual sun that rises in the east and sets in the west. Now, that image is merely symbolic of the sun, because you and I both know that that's not what it looks like when you look out in the sky. But what you do know is when you think of the word soul, you think of the word sun, and we all know that solar energy comes from the sun. Directly or indirectly, the sun is responsible for all of the energy on earth. Not just oil and coal and all the other things that man has created to produce energy, but that all energy, that which is in the earth and that which is in our body, comes from the sun. So direct solar energy is a clean, renewable energy resource that is easily vast enough to provide us with all of our energy needs. And there are three main ways that we can harvest solar energy: through solar hot water, solar thermal electricity, and photovoltaic cells. So then I asked, what is the universal source of energy in all living things? Well, the answer is the universal source of energy in all living organism is, guess what? The sun, solar energy. It is the energy that is coming from the sun. If you're going to worship anything, that's what you should be worshiping, the sun. We could take a page from our ancestors and go back to worshiping those things that that appear and that we see in nature naturally. How is the sun important to life on Earth? It radiates light and heat, or solar energy, which makes it possible for life to exist on Earth. Plants need sunlight to grow. Animals, including us humans, need plants for food and the oxygen they produce. And if you're eating animals, you're getting energy from them too. So without the heat of the sun, you guessed it, the earth would freeze. And whether you know it or not, we are currently living in an ice age. Look it up, do your own research. And while you're doing that, please subscribe, like, and share your comments. Share this video. It's time for us to get a new thought, to come out from under the bonds of racism and religion that are rooted and born in fear, take back our sense of self-control, our power, and our worth. If ever there was a time in our history for each individual to rise up, that time is now.